So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we are going to be talking about logistics. When we think logistics, you probably think F4, right? Well, actually, that's called supply. But we're not here for supply, Matt, but we're here for the logistics. You see this? See details on how equipment is being used by and produced by for your troops. And here it is. So this shows you what equipment we currently have researched and have stockpiled, and we are producing or not producing, and what resources they require. Funnily enough, I never actually look at the resources normally. So one of the difficult things people struggle with HOI4 is they don't like to make different division types. And one of the reasons why they don't do that is they're afraid. Yeah, they're afraid. And the reason why they're afraid is because they don't want to have to deal with this logistics screen because they get confused by it. So let's simplify it. Ignore this tab resources. In all fairness, you won't use this. You'll use this in the production tab. Then we have the stockpile. Can you see this? This is the amount you've got in storage. Basically, an extra surplus of equipment that is not being used in divisions in the field. So example, we have 5 armored cars. If we click them, we can see what variants we've got. And these are all ones that we've captured from previous wars. So don't worry too much about that. But here we have 5 extra. And the second tab here says how much you are producing or losing on a daily basis. Be aware this is an estimate. With production going up and down because of production efficiency, that number is not accurate. It's not accurate. It's a guess. And also, it's difficult to judge how much equipment you're losing per day due to attrition because attrition is sliding up and down quite aggressively. So be aware these numbers are estimates, a balance going up and down, losing them due to combat, breaking down, or attrition, or gaining them based on producing enough. In this case, you can see that we're behind 193 pieces of artillery, and we are losing a net loss of -12 per day. Now, if we go back into the production tab, we are producing 14 of those per day. So we're losing a lot of them because we're still producing them, but we're still losing more than we're gaining. So it is a net loss. Oh, we're learning here, aren't we? So if you click on them, you have the option here to see the breakdown of all the equipment you've got that certain type. So in this case, I haven't researched anti-tank or armored car, hence the reason why they're blacked out. But this is the ones that we've captured from capitulations or capturing due to maintenance companies, for instance. So in this case, if we want to, we can destroy this equipment if we want to and can permanently destroy it. If you do capitulate in the next 90 days, that equipment will technically not be destroyed. I guess they pull it out of the landfill, I guess, and they're like, oh, it still works. People have theorized that if you destroy old equipment that you're not using, that can actually speed the game up. But if you think about it, there's a lot of excess equipment in the world, isn't there? So I feel like it's going to take a very, very long time to actually get rid of all that equipment. And as you can see, as we get rid of that category, the list gets shorter and shorter. This is a really nice way, if you've got a lot of excess equipment late game that you're not actually using, just to get rid of it. So this is your inputs and your outputs. This is where you go to if you want to see if you're on top of your production or not. If you're building divisions up, or if you're actively on a front line, this is where you go in to see your net gains and losses, because you want to keep an eye on if you're losing too much equipment. Because be aware, if your division does not have 100% strength, it suffers a penalty in combat. See this division here? It says 92% strength, and it is missing 15 light tanks, 1 towed artillery, and 1 flame tank. It is missing that equipment, and that means it is underperforming in combat. This can be unbelievably painful. You'll start losing because you don't have enough equipment. Then you'll lose even more because you're suffering a penalty in combat because you've not got all the equipment, and it tends to snowball. It's what happens to the AI late game. Can you see this division here? Very low strength. Well, this is missing a lot of equipment because the AI is losing. You notice it quite often between Germany and the Soviet Union. They'll do a Barbarossa, and one side will start to lose more equipment than the other, and it'll have a snowball effect. Can you see these divisions where the Soviets have got more strength, the orange bar, where the German ones you can see are a lot lower. The Germans are losing, and they're snowballing and slowly slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping until they unfortunately die a very fiery ball of death. So let's talk about changing out division templates. So these are our division templates, and if we were to, let's say, this template we're using, because you hover over it, says 78 divisions are using this template. We go into here and add on, let's say, motorized artillery. Why would we do that? No reason. Regardless, we're going to hop into hover here, hover over the icon, and it says it'll cost 25 XP to add on this motorized artillery. But look as well, it will also cost you 39,000 manpower, 2,808 artillery, 2,808 trucks. And as you can see, the red there, it says 0 available. So what it's telling you is you do not have enough in storage to meet these requirements. Now, you can still change the division template if you want to, but be aware that you're missing the equipment. This will cause every division that is this kind to drop a considerable amount of HP, well, strength, shall we say. So will it okay for that? Add a bunch of random stuff on. And as you can see now, look at these divisions. Look at the strength of them. They are significantly low. These are massively going to underperform now in combat because you have changed the division on the fly whilst they're on the front line in combat. This will encourage the AI to attack you, and it means you'll massively underperform if you are attacking. This is something you will very, very rarely do. Do not make big changes to your templates on the front line. It will end very, very badly for you. Same applies the other way as well. So if we were to remove all these bits and then hover over the save, it specifically says that you will get 210,000 manpower back, 78,000 infantry equipment. You basically get what it says. So in this case, if you wanted to save equipment, it gives you an idea of what you will get back into your storage supply. And you hit OK there, and boom, we wait a day, and you see most of them have gone green again. Now, this is the game changer. Are you ready for the game changer? Not everyone knows this. I would say probably about 40 or 50% of the players in HOI4 actually know this. But if you are running a deficit of equipment, in this case, we're running low on artillery pieces, or in this case, light tanks, if you hover over the amount in storage, it will tell you how long until you've met the requirements for that shortage. With the current production of artillery equipment, the shortage will last 19 days. Light tanks, with the current production of light tanks, the equipment shortage will last for 24 days. So let's just go with a hypothetical then. So it said here, it would take 19 days, delete all those, add them all onto artillery, and now it'll take 12 days. Be aware, very important this, be very aware. That number is an estimate. It is an estimate. That number may scale up or down based on attrition, based on losses. It might scale also based on your production efficiency gains as well. Most of the time, this estimate is used of an overestimate. I don't think it's going to be 10 days. Let's say if it's 10 days. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it says 4 days. See what I mean? It's an estimate, okay? So just keep that at the back of your mind. Remember that, because you're going to be in a situation where you might not fulfill those requirements exactly. It might be a little bit overestimated. It might be underestimated. You have to take into account a lot of things. Right now, I'm pushing on the front line here. So what I'm probably doing is losing a lot of equipment from attrition. You can see we lost 7, 8, 10 from combat, 38, 40 from attrition. Someone has asked me here, is the 19 based on production minus, which is taken into account of inventory and production? It's taken into account everything. It's taken into account losses through combat, from attrition, and then also taken into account the production. It's taken into account everything. But the estimates obviously are going to be way off because you just really don't know how accurately you are going to be losing or gaining equipment over the next time period in that specific case. So one typical thing players will do, this is quite common. So we'll create a new division template. We'll say it's going to be a 7-2 basically. A lot of people say, oh, that's not the meta anymore because they've changed how the meta is, but the truth is it still works, so who cares? We've got a new division template, and then we grab all of our army, and then we're going to change it to that new infantry template. And now we've changed it. You get a readout here of what equipment will be needed. So in this case, we will fall short of artillery equipment by just under 2,000, and the equipment that you will gain because we're no longer using it anymore. Then we change it, and we wait a little while. You can see that the strength of division changes ever so slightly, and then you hop into logistics and you hover over the amounts, and you can say that we're behind by 66 days, giving you a rough readout of how far you are behind. A lot of people have a tendency to want to keep all their army as one division. It seems to be like a typical noob thing to do. Here's the secret. So let's say I want to make a 7-2, but let's make it a bit different. So we want to make it elite. That means equipment comes to this division first before it comes to the previous division. And then we'll add on light tank support because that's a meta at the minute. So we have the meta of 7-2 and the meta of light tank recon. All we need with this is CAS, and it's the perfect division, right? And there we go. We've created it. But remember, we created a duplicate. There are no actual divisions that are actually this size at the moment. So what we'll do now is select this army, change template, select the copy of the infantry template 1. It says we're missing towed artillery, but we have everything else, so that's fine. And now, two magical things has happened. This is the template we've got, the 7-2, and this is the 7-2 with light tanks. So what you've basically done here is you've prioritized one division here to be, I guess, more of an attacking division. I guess maybe you'd add flames on as well in that case. Flames are built for attack. In this case, this division now it can be used on the front line specifically for attack roles. But you don't need to change your entire army to this. You could just change the one that are actually on the offensive. And this is going to be way more cost effective for you. Because can you just imagine these divisions here that are just holding the front line and they've got like all these attack equipment on them, but they're not actually attacking, they're just holding ground. It's not really worthwhile. So in that circumstance, it's better off to make a specific division that is more geared toward attacking and defending. It's basically divisions that serve certain roles. And that is an easier way of doing it while keeping on top of your logistics. GG. Beautiful borders. Is there any way to make different light tank variants go to specific units, or is it just based on equipment priority? No. If you go into the division maker and go on equipment, you can specifically tailor a division to have only certain kinds of equipment. In this case, I could specifically say I only want the most advanced light tanks to be a part of this division. And then if we look at the division itself, most advanced, the Zeus 2A, and then the Greek Fire. as a part of that division. It's quite useful for that if you want a garrison template. So we'll go garrisons. We've got the horse. And specifically, you don't want any of your good equipment to go to garrisons. So what you'll do is specifically use, please only use the crap equipment. Now, only the older guns now will be prioritized for these divisions. Be very careful. Listen to me, be very careful. If you run into a situation where you're low on guns, specifically these two kinds of guns, the garrisons won't be fulfilled and you have a pop-up at the top of the screen telling you partisans are rising up and you're getting more resistance. So you have to stay on top of that. Otherwise, it will come back and bite you. It is something that could really, really hurt you if you don't pay attention to it. Did you like HOI from the beginning or did you have to warm up to it? When I first played it, it took me a while to fully get into it. I only really have fun with games when I've semi-mastered them. When I first start a new game, I really struggle to feel immersed in it. There is also a priority button here. I don't really use this. So sets priority for equipment going to the upgraded active troops compared to redeployment queue and reinforcement. So specifically what you're doing here is you're saying new gear always goes to existing divisions, not ones that are reinforcing and ones that aren't being trained. I always forget to turn that on. And to be honest with you, that's actually a really big deal. As I said here, you can specifically set reserves, default, and elite. This does not affect the combat effectiveness of divisions. All it basically does is who gets the equipment first. So third priority, second priority, first priority. That's all it basically is. And if there's one missing, it just skips the queue. But there's also another thing too. If you create another theater, as you see here in the top right theater, move this guy down. There's also a priority for theaters as well. So it's the same thing. Where does the equipment go? First, it will go into the priority for the theater. Then it will go into the list, the main priority for the theater, then the main division in that theater, then the regular priority, then the low priority. Then it goes to the regular priority for a theater, down, 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 down. So you can make basically a hierarchy of where equipment is going. And let's just be honest with you guys. Let's be real with you. If you've got troops on a front line just defending, you want to assign this to an extra theater and set it as low garrison because these troops are not in active combat. There's no point providing these guys with the latest equipment or reinforcements when there's active troops like here, for instance, fighting on a front line. It's really, 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 really important you prioritize your equipment correctly. Hey, you made it to the end. Now, this is the video you want.